Hi, everybody. Chaa ganjuu yamiseemi. 今度、Chaa ganjuuについていひが話せやんでうむとえびん。ゆたさるごとうにげさびら。Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well. This time I wanted to talk a little bit about the phrase Chaa ganjuu. So thank you for tuning in. Now, one big reason that I figured I should talk about this is because I'm going to start off all of these videos with a greeting that will include this phrase, this question, Chaa ganjuu yamiseemi. Now, if we translated literally to English, it would mean something like, are you fine all this time? Now, we wouldn't say that in English, but again, that would just be the literal translation. Okay, so let's break this apart. Basically, I have three words here. The first one is Chaa. And Chaa, in this case, it means always, or all the way, or all the time. Okay, then we have ganjuu. And ganjuu means fine, means healthy. Okay, and then we have yamisen. Okay, and it's a to be verb. Means is. Okay, and it's an honorific form of yan or yaibin, which might be a little bit more familiar. Now you notice the way it's spelled there, there's a parentheses around the H. Because you will hear people say yamisen. You will hear people say yamisen. And oftentimes it's kind of a in between the se and she sound. Okay, but in the question form of this, it becomes yamiseemi. Okay, so that me there is a yes/no question marker, right? Because if you're asking someone, "Are you fine all this time?" then the answer should be yes or no, right? So again, the me is a yes/no question marker. Okay, now take a look. What do you notice happening to the word yamisen when it becomes a question, when it becomes a yes or no question? Okay, so you might notice that the final n sound disappears and the mi is added. Okay, so one more time. Yamisen plus the question marker mi. The n in yamisen disappears. And then the mi is added on. And it becomes yamiseemi. So this rule for the mi question marker, it does apply to any adjective or verb ending with the n sound when attaching the mi question marker. Okay, unless it's in negative tense. All right, but we won't get into that in this video here. Okay, so a few other examples of the mi question marker. Okay, take the adjective hot. You want to ask, is it hot? Okay, and the word for hot is achisan. Okay, so as a question, it would become achisami. Right, the n disappears and the mi gets added on. Okay, another adjective might be familiar, ma-sang, right? Delicious. So if you wanted to ask, is it delicious? Ma-sami. Okay, now let's take a look at a verb. The verb to understand, wakain. Okay, if you wanted to ask, do you understand Okinawan language? Same rule there, take away the n in wakain and add mi. Uchinaaguchi wakaimi. Okay, again, do you understand Okinawan language? Okay, well, let's get back to our original phrase, Chaa ganjuu yamiseemi. There's a few other ways you could say this, and we'll just take a look at different levels of formality. Okay, so you could say Chaa ganjuu yaibimi. You could also say Chaa ganjuu yami. Okay, and there's also even shorter phrase, Chaa ganjuu. And again, as we go down the list, we're getting less formal. Okay, so the Chaa ganjuu yaibimi is still pretty polite. Okay, but then when you get to the yami, Chaa ganjuu yami, then you're getting casual. And then the Chaa ganjuu is even more casual. Now, the thing about the second one on this list here, I kind of feel like it's maybe not as common, not as commonly used. I'm more familiar with the yamiseemi or the yaibimi or even the Chaa ganjuu. So that brings us to the I there. The I in this case is another yes or no question marker. So the mi and the I, they're actually not the only yes no question markers that exist in Okinawan language. But we'll just look at those in this video here. And one more way to say this, I think, especially is familiar to people in Hawaii who grew up maybe hearing the older generation use the language, is just Chaa, ganjuu. And of course, that's also used to mean the same thing, right? Are you fine? Are you fine all this time? Okay, so we'll talk about the intonation now. So I was taught that everything kind of stays down in this phrase except for the ya in yamiseemi. And then with that mi question marker, it kind of drops down too at the end. So oftentimes when we think of questions, we think of the intonation going up at the end. But for most cases in Okinawan language, it's actually going to come down. And now it's particularly important for the cha to stay down in this question, because cha can actually have several meanings, one of them being the question word how. Okay, so in Okinawan language, interrogative words like who, what, where, when, why, and how, they tend to be accented, and those will kind of go up in intonation. So again, you have cha versus cha, cha, cha. Okay, so while we're at it, I figured we'd talk about the word cha, which again has several meanings, okay, depending on the context. So the first one is the one we've been talking about up until now, is always, all the way, all the time, cha ganjuu. Okay, but another example, common example, is this phrase cha matoba. Okay, matoba meaning straight, as in direction. So if you, for example, if you're giving someone directions and you told them cha matoba, that means go straight all the way. Okay, and then we have the word how. Okay, so again, this one, the intonation would go up. Cha yaga. How is it? Cha yaga. And people who are familiar with this word and meaning might actually get confused with cha ganjuu, because that cha appears. So they, again, when you're trying to translate to English, you naturally think, how are you? So they think the cha in cha ganjuu means how. But again, that's not the case. Okay, another meaning of the word cha is tea. So you could say something like, cha numumi. Will you drink tea? Cha numumi. Okay, so the word numun is the verb to drink. And then again, we're asking a yes or no question. So you see that rule comes in here where that final n in the numun disappears, and then mi gets added on. Cha numumi. And then just kind of a bonus word here, the word cha cha. It's one way to say dad. I don't think it's the most common way. But again, it is one way to say dad or daddy. So here's a sentence that throws all of these chas together. I believe it's grammatically correct. Okay, you could say cha cha ya, cha shi cha cha numugaya. So one more time, cha cha ya, cha shi cha cha numugaya. Okay, and I've color coded it here so you can see which cha goes with which English word. But basically, this phrase is trying to say, I wonder how dad can drink tea all the time. Okay, so there's a couple other sentence structures going on here, but I won't get into those at this time either. Okay, so now let's talk about how you might respond to this question. Cha ganjuu yamiseemi. Assuming your answer is yes, I am fine. Okay, you could say, ooh, ganjuu yaibindo. You might also say, ooh, ganjuu soybean do. Okay, we got a few more variations of this. I, ganjuu yando. I, ganjuu sondo. Or just ganjuu do. Okay, so first thing to point out in these answers is the word for yes. So there's two different ways in this list. There's ooh, and ooh is a polite way to say yes. I is more casual, okay, but both mean yes. And since we're talking about yes, then of course we have to also mention no, right? So a polite way to say no would be ooh. Okay, and a casual way to say no yi. Okay, but you notice we have basically two verb endings for these answers. We got yaibin and soybean. Color coded on the left, so the blue ones, we got yaibin, we got yan. So yan is just a more casual form of yaibin. And then the same thing with son and soybean. Okay, son is the casual version of soybean. And the difference between these two verbs, well, ganjuu yaibin, you're saying I am fine. And then ganjuu soybean, basically you're saying I'm doing fine. So you notice at the end of all of those responses on the left, they all have do at the end. And without the do, the meaning wouldn't really change. However, that suffix does give emphasis, and you can also think of it as giving information that was previously unknown. Okay, and there's another bonus word for you, ganjuu mun. Ganjuu mun is a healthy person. Okay, so a lot of times in actually a lot of languages, including Okinawan, you can just kind of mirror the question to respond. Now, the thing about the yamiseemi, okay, you cannot mirror this in your response. You wouldn't say, "Oh, ganjuu yamisen," okay, because this would be honoring yourself, which is something that you're just not supposed to do. Yeah. So again, our phrase that we looked at this time, Chaa ganjuu yamiseemi. And if you were to find an English equivalent, probably the closest thing would be, "How are you?" Even though that's not the literal translation of the phrase, right? The literal translation would be more like, "Are you fine all this time?" To anse gusuyo uchichi kumisochi ippe ni he debiru. Matawi che uganabira. So that's about it for this video. Hope you found the information useful. Thank you for listening. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And atukara ya. See you next time.